Well, this is gonna be good. Let's get this thing going. So, well, yeah, welcome back, Pops with Pops, episode 12 already, which has been fun, and we're getting there. That's what I'm gonna tell you. I said every episode we keep getting better and better with this, but we're getting there. And excited today to have on Matt Berthiaume, also known to anybody listening as Bert, the one and only. But even to people who don't know that, or like bring up Bert to me, don't know that this is my cousin. We grew up together, so my dad's nephew. And excited to have you on, Matt. We have geared this podcast. I think I told you, and you told me you've been looking at it too. We want to start something where guys sit around, talk. Good guys, we've been around, we've grown up together, and we've had people on. I always joke around about give them their flowers, and I being a couple years younger as my cousin's like almost like younger brother, right? And so proud of the stuff that you've been able to do. Entrepreneur, owns two restaurants in the Duluth, Minnesota area, the Social House, doing great there, and done some serious philanthropy work. And I was just laughing, looking some of this stuff up, and you can dive into it, somewhere in this podcast. But I was thinking back to Bertapalooza and such a
Oh yeah.
funny, amazing thing that you created to just throw yourself your own birthday party that turned into hundreds and thousands of people showing up every year in Duluth for your birthday, and then you're raising money for breast cancer awareness and for the city of Duluth. And so, the bottom line, that's a good example of a good dude who, attracts people to him based on just being a good human being, good personality, fun to be around. And so we wanted to have you on here, and I'm pretty sure there'll be some laughter. There already has been. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
excited to have you on.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for inviting me. It's always good to see you guys. Getting to see Matt, 2 weeks ago was it's always a blessing to see that that face and that smile. It's always good. And we just laughed for a good hour. It's always like we're running low on time, and Shelly's like, we gotta go. And me and Matt just like, yeah, we'll just BS for a little longer, and it's always a great time. It's unfortunate now that we all live so far away, because Christmas is like back in the day were the best. In Lino Lakes, they were the best. The pickle game and the songs we'd sing and the creativity of the family and all of us together was just so fun that
That's what that's what I told him when we started this. I was like, we did an episode a few episodes ago just talking about humor in your life and all the stuff we've all been through. That is one of the constants, right? And you're definitely a big piece of that. I mean, just the thought of us, like he told me when he came to see me, stop to see Matt. And I'm just laughing, giggling, just knowing that sitting around chopping it up, that there's something funny in there, and you just don't even know what
yeah.
the subject is, but I know it's good. And yeah, those holidays of all of us around, I mean, just crying, laughing. It's just always a good time. So it's good to have you on because yeah, we're never short on laughter when we're all together.
No, 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 no. That's how we get in shape when we're all together. We're not lifting weights. We're just sweating because we're laughing so hard. Uncle Matt is probably one of the best storytellers, out there. So whenever like there's a story that I always loved when I think you guys were fishing up in Alaska with Grandpa. I mean, you guys would go up there, and that guy, take it easy, and that guy who you guys would always catch, the amount of fish that you guys would limit out, and everyone's, they're all getting off the boat, and this guy's, Uncle Matt would like step up like this, and he was like, this guy was so proud of himself. It was his first year coming out with you guys, and he's yelling to everybody on the dock, going, "Win!" You know, he's like, Uncle Matt's just sitting there. Yeah, we do this every year. This guy was so proud, and I just remember you telling me I was just dying. You know what I mean? And everyone just lets him have that pride. You know what I mean? No one could break it to him. It's like, yeah, we threw back like 50 fish because we did. You know what I mean? So it's just like those little things with when even with Uncle Rowan, those are just some of the best times and the best memories. I'm not even there, but I remember just laughing so hard because we just had a nice glass of whiskey in our hands, and we're just telling stories, and it's the best time, and that's what makes, I think, our family so great. We're so lucky at times to have those moments back in the day when we were together. They were just the best.
Yeah, always a good time. Very little drama, lots of fun. I speaking of humor, now that you started that story, I'm going to share two, and I won't name any names on. So I have this. You talk about laughter, and my dad and I being so close together, I would do stuff, and he would just subtly call me an asshole in social situations, and no one would know that I'm doing it except for him. But like, you'd have some people that would start in on a story that's just annoying or goes too long, and then they'll repeat stories, and you can ask them a question and then they don't know that they're going to repeat the story, but I'd wait till I could get them captured in these social spots and get dad trapped. And so this same guy goes through, and he had this really interesting dialect when he talked about stuff. And he was just talking about, again, we're walleye fishing in Canada. And if you've never, listen, and if you've never been in northern Minnesota, let alone Canada, walleye fishing, like you said, it's like fishing for sunnies off the dock. It's so easy in Canada. That's why it's funny when you're like, oh, we limited it out. I'm like, yeah, it's every 2 hours. It's all the time. But he gets in this story at nauseum about just want to take some of this walleye home because I got a cedar plank and I like to lay it on there. About 12 inches. Good fillet. Get a little dill sauce and lay it on there. And he goes through this thing like for 15 to 20 minutes about how he's going to cook this walleye fillet on this cedar plank. And there's like 15, 20 guys on this trip. And so he would tell people this story over and over. We've all heard it. And I just wait until we were pinned at a certain dinner table. And I'm like, hey, you tell me again, what are you going to do with that walleye when you get back home? And then you just see my dad look at me. He's like,
I
and then
was
I'd get him trapped. And then then I just get up.
Up and leave. Just
yeah,
holding on to Matt's shirt, being like, no, 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 it's a cedar plank.
no, it was worse than that. So they're sitting at an island in this cabin, and he's telling a story, and the guy is a little effeminate, he's a nice guy, but he's just going through that, yeah, excruciating detail of this thing. There's nothing more interesting than somebody telling you about a fucking recipe. So Luke's there, and he's just trying to get his foot out of the fucking thing, right? And I walk up and have a cocktail, Boy, hey, Kenny, hey, Kenny, you got to tell Dad about this. And of course, now I'm sitting there. And I went back to him. I let him know about that later on.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a close talk.
Oh, yeah, it gets in there.
Yeah, what I like to do is
Yes.
take, I like about a 15-inch piece of cedar, and I soak it, and then I char it really good on the grill, and because that's what you got to do. You got to kind of age it and stuff, and then lay out that fillet like that. That sounds delicious, Kenny. It really does. I got to tell you, man. I'd love to try that. I'm gonna have to try that.
Just trying to moonwalk your way out of the scenario.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, or just completely start pounding until you pass out.
This you're gonna kick. I gotta tell this one too. So of course these guys are way at the time. So this is 10 years or more. So they're they're already in there. Some guys probably pushing 70. So they're successful, and they were successful, and they're all sales guys, and you know successful during the 70s. So you can imagine like the wild suits, the big Cadillacs, all this stuff. And so they're telling this story about this guy. They go to like the Radisson in Minneapolis or something. He pulls up he's got a canary. He's got a canary yellow Cadillac.
Eldorado.
Just something straight out of Goodfellas, but you're in that sales, like, we're making money. And he pulls up to the Radisson, and there's a black guy standing outside the Radisson, and he throws his keys to him, and he goes into the conference. Is there for the whole weekend and comes back out on whatever Sunday or Monday. He goes, hey, can you guys have the valet pull my car around? They go, sir, we don't have a valet service. So he just threw his keys. How racist and
Yes.
stereotypical is that? He just throws his keys at some guy standing out front. So the guy just takes his car.
And is this stealing? It's not really.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument there that he gave you this car.
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. Genius. Absolutely genius.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
this wrong on so many fronts. Just so wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, what a story. It's like,
If you'd have done that, would you even tell that story? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I
But
don't know
that's
if I
how the
would.
guy, that's how this guy was. He was like, he had, he was, just a shit mess, but a nice guy. And he's always successful in what he did. But you can just tell, just kind of a pussy, and he talks about being, he was in the military and was, in, did, artillery work, right? And so he's explained azimuth and all that bullshit, So, but anyway, he took over command of some place in Korea. He's the new commander, right? And they got this tent, and the tent is for a latrine, and it just has a trench around the outside of the perimeter of it. You go and crap in the thing, and that's it. They move the tent. And of course, first thing that day is the commander goes over there, pulls down his pants, has to go to the bathroom, gets his legs caught up in his pants, falls on the shit. I go, and again, another story I wouldn't tell it, but
Anyway,
I bet that was confidence inspiring for the men. That's our new commander. Too
yeah.
much. Yeah, yeah. So, okay, Bert, we were talking the other day about, kind of on a serious note, but it's I often think I'm always dancing around some of the political stuff. Makes Luke a little bit nervous. But we were talking about kind of work ethic issues, right?
Yeah,
Hiring and things like the challenges as a business owner and stuff. So, how about a little bit of that? You know, uh,
yeah. I mean, it's the most challenging I've ever seen it. Now now I have the 2 restaurants. I have roughly around 70 employees. And out of those 70, it's tough to find those people that care, about their job and care about the business and understand, you know, what it means to really work hard these days. I think, I think when all 3 of us grew up, especially, Luke and I, when I could, speak for ourselves and how you raised them and how, I was raised, it was work ethic was a major priority. Things weren't handed to us. It built character. And in today's society, unfortunately, I believe that hard work and that pride in what you do is leaving a little bit. So it's like for me, it's I want to inspire people. Like I think with Luke's business with you, and we surround ourselves with people that have great character and do whatever. You try to make them want to do this and give them incentives to do it, but there's no incentives these days that are good enough. It's super, super difficult. We're short staffed constantly down in our Canal Park location because we can't find people that are willing to work hard. And it's just becoming more and more difficult as time goes on. And I don't know what the solution is. A lot of them are gaming the system, I would say, that we have. Duluth is one of the more so we have a large social safety net here. Like a lot of people move here because our housing, they can pay for the housing, whatever. The regulations are very lax. And it could be all over Minnesota, I'm not entirely sure, but like we get people that call for the job, and that's what qualifies them to get their benefits these days. So it's super difficult like to get in this industry. When a cooking job isn't, you know, it is what it is. But even when I was washing dishes for my mom, I still worked my ass off to do it. And I don't know in your guys' field and how it works with you, with Luke, with your training and what you see in the kids today, is that work ethic there for you guys as well? Do you see that?
I think one of the things that I've noticed is, and I don't know if it's something that people have created in their minds, or it is actual reality. There's no sense of working towards something. So I think people believe that, well, I can never have that. I can't have a house. And granted, a lot of this stuff is a lot tougher, you know, than in the past. So expensive, so this and that and the other thing. So I think people kind of focus in on just themselves today.
Right.
my bills, I have a little cash in my pocket. My bills are paid today, but nothing about saving or building or doing something, you know,
Right.
forward. And I think there's kind of a hopelessness, and it kind of probably plays into the work ethic, like, oh, I'll work as hard as I can to just get the check. And as soon as somebody offers me 50 cents more, I'm going,
Right. They work hard enough, right? And I think, when me and Luke, Luke obviously started his entrepreneur journey before I did, but I always looked up to Luke even growing up when he was going to college, and I saw the drive that he had and I saw all this stuff. So I was kind of like, I paid attention to what Luke was doing. And Luke is like somebody that I think, I'm gonna make your head grow a little bit here, if that's all right, Luke. But it was never the pursuit of happiness. It was like he was happy in the pursuit, right? Like n- it was the journey, right? He's somebody who doesn't love the destination, he loves the walk, right? And that person will always get there. I don't think Luke will ever be truly satisfied because, or in you and your business and everywhere else, I think you guys have obviously done really, really well. A lot of people in our family have done really, really well because I think we had that mindset of we like the journey, we enjoy the walk, we have a goal set for ourselves. And that's something I've always admired about Luke is, you know, we've always had like these right through our life. Like there were times we're super low, and you look at it and you were like, well, I'm gonna. It doesn't make a difference. The wall isn't thick enough for me not to go through it. So I
Yeah.
yeah,
like looked at Luke and I was like, yeah, that's what I want.
Well, thank you. And I think there's a weird I never wanted to get to this space of like, well, back in my day, but
Yeah, yeah.
there Matt and I were talking about this before we got on. In you work in a space where you're constantly in and around the public. And so am I, and I have been for my whole career. So then I've started to create this. I consider myself a behavioralist because I'm just watching people and watching them to try and learn, watching them to try and find ways in which I can help them improve. So what happens then is you start, starting to create this sample size of, not everybody's the same, not every situation's the same, but you start to put together like this idea of what's going on throughout the population because you're interacting with so many different people and different ages and different backgrounds and sexes and all this other kind of stuff. And I started to feel like right when we probably out of college ages, there was a lot more people that I was around our age that were like gonna go do something. Like start our own business. We're gonna, I have friends that worked really hard to get their degrees that have created fantastic careers for 20 years. And then again, while I was working with people, somewhere after I got out of college, there was like this 5 to 10 year gap where I started to see people that you were trying to get, maybe they're employees or that you were just talking to them because they were going to work somewhere. And then you'd hear weird statements, and this is the one that sticks out to me is like I would talk to somebody and I'd go, "Hey, you gonna go to work today, or are you gonna go work out today?" Or do it? I'm just not feeling it. And you'd hear it, that phrase, "I'm just not feeling it," and I would hear it over and over. Am I not feeling what? Not feeling getting a paycheck? Not feeling? You're like, are you sick? You're just not going to work? Nah, it's not really feeling it. And they just wouldn't go to like they just wouldn't do anything. They just literally would not do anything. And I felt like there was this lag time of like I don't know how long of that started this laziness, and you'd see some anomalies in there, like not everybody, but I felt like it was more and more I was hearing it. And what's interesting now is like, we have a 17-year-old daughter, so she's only got a year and a half left of high school, but then I'm around her age group, this population, and maybe it's just the community we're in, the town we're in, but now all of a sudden I'm starting to see a reverse of that, which is actually rather inspiring. These guys that, that are in this, going to get it out of high school. And, we all had fun. We had fun in high school, in college, all this stuff. And it's not just their circle of friends, it's all these people these kids that they're around. You'll see them, they're like, I'm not really on social media that much. Don't really like it. We have multiple jobs, or they're doing PSEO or college in the schools early. They're already taking like, what are you doing over, little stuff, New Year's, things that you would do dumb stuff when you're in high school. Oh, we're getting together with our friends and we're building dream boards and we're all just kind of getting together and throwing a dinner party. I'm like, what? I was like, who, so like I do, it is a little bit of like it's a little bit inspiring to see. I think there is some flip to that, but there was somewhere in there was this gap of before us was a very hardworking generation because the one before that, like so, my dad's dad or grandparents, all that kind of stuff. That was the put yourself up by your bootstraps, make things happen. So then like my dad's generation, that's what they learned from. We learned from that, but then there was something in there that was weird, and I don't know what happened. This is just my own again perception of it all, and I could be way off base. And I don't know. There's like a 10-year gap in there of a lot of like, I got my hand out and I hope somebody's out there to help me.
Right. Well, I think,
Interesting.
the age of the internet,
Yeah.
it was so funny. Like back in the day, they asked all these kids, they were like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was like fireman, policeman, astronaut, no, doctor, whatever. Now they're like, I want to be a content creator. Like I want to be, what do they say, famous on TikTok or an influencer. Yeah, they want to be an influencer. Like more than half the people are saying that now. And it's like, the odds of you becoming a famous influencer are, slim to none. And the reality is you have to have character. You have to have something that people grab onto and that are attracted to. And I think in this younger generation, it's really rare and hard
Mm.
to find someone that has like that will and that like it factor because they're all shoved in this space. And it's like, how do you like find that special person
But
that
it's
you're
not
like, oh yeah, you're good.
but it's not any different than being an entrepreneur, right, Matt? Like they don't anybody like, oh, so and so, we can name probably 10 people that are been influencers and created massive careers through, YouTube and TikTok or whatever, but no one has any idea the amount of work that goes in to get there and the smarts that it took. It isn't like you just turned on your camera on your phone one day and started recording stuff and started crushing it. Like the
Right.
amount of work and the analytics and understanding all that stuff that goes into it, it still requires hard work. So somewhere in there, there's like no gauge on what actual hard work is.
Right. And it brings us back to the work ethic of it, right? It's like everyone just sees you at the mountaintop, but no one saw the climb,
Right.
right? And that's the biggest. Like, do you guys know Alex Hormozy? I
Mhm.
think me and Matt talked about that guy when he was like, when I opened my first gym and I was sleeping in the gym, and everyone was saying, "Hey, man, good for you. This is awesome. This is great. I'm so proud of you. You're doing the right thing." And then he goes, "Then I had management." And then I opened up another gym, and then I was doing all these things, and then he would walk in and he'd be like, "Oh, boss man," yeah, and he was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "You guys were the same people that were, you know, cheering me on to get to this point, and now you're upset that I did it?" It's like, and what he always says, he goes, "They want you to be good, but just not better." That's the thing, and I think with us, and I applaud anyone to be better than me. Like, I will push you to be better. I'll give you anything that I have to make you the best entrepreneur you can be. Like, I've talked to a few college students. They want me to go and talk in front of a class and do all this stuff and the hard work. And that's the first thing I'll tell them. I go, if you're doing it for the money, it's not for you. You have to love it. And this industry is everything I've ever known. And I've been basically studying it since I was 9 years old when my mom had me washing dishes. Child slave labor. Just great, which was
I wish
awesome.
you, I wish
Yeah.
you could have, I wish you could have sewn better because I would have had some clothes.
Yeah.
But the things about having goals and the working through. First of all, you're excited about a goal, right? That's the thing that keeps coming back to you now, whether it's opening a new store or a restaurant or whatever location. You're excited about it, and all the things you're going crazy to get in place. And as you go through it, uh, it's always in any kind of goal, it's more difficult than you anticipated, right?
Oh,
There's all these unknowns, right? That always happen. Doesn't matter what the goal is. So you go through this thing, and as you get closer, maybe you haven't achieved it, but it is achievable. You know you're going to get there. You get closer
yeah.
to it. It has less significance for you. It's like it was a big deal at the beginning, and now
Right.
that I'm because that whole process is learning to go to the next greater thing.
Right.
right?
And
And
it
you repeat things, you repeat the process, you get smarter in some of the ways. But if
yes.
people have never gone through that, they've never seen it. They see, like you say, they see the success, but to you, that success is, that's old school. That's old hat,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
I'm
I mean,
moving
they
on to
didn't
the next thing, you know.
yeah, I mean, they didn't see the day before I opened when I had $24 to my name, and I go, "This has gotta work. I have no other option. This has to work." Like, what they say is, like, "Burn the boats to take the island." Like, there's no getting off. You have to make this work. It's such a great line. And with all the failures and I've failed many times throughout this, and the weight never gets lighter, but you just get stronger. So it feels easier, but you
Mhm.
still face the same challenges, but now you know how to handle them in a better way. And that's what's been the best thing for me. It's never a failure. Like, I don't know if these restaurants are gonna work. One day I might have to close them down. I don't know. But I've learned a ton, and it's not gonna stop my entrepreneurial spirit. I'm gonna continue to go. I've been lucky with the Hermantown location is doing fantastic, and the Canal Park location has its bumps and bruises, and the location's tough. And we don't know if it's gonna stick around down here. We don't know. But I've got a master's degree in how this works now. Because in Hermantown, it was like we were very lucky. I mean, at the beginning, we opened right before COVID, kick right in the nuts. It's like you can anticipate some things happening. People aren't going to walk in. People aren't going to show up. You're not going to get staff. But having a worldwide pandemic come to you 6 months before you open is something that you can't plan for or even think about. Um, so that was like the first adversity that we ever faced. And we were just like, okay, we had to build a game plan of how we're going to make this work because the government couldn't give us any money because we had no previous year's
Pre-existing.
revenue. So we were like, oh, we're not well known yet. We were starting to grow. We were getting it was awesome. And then, luckily, people supported me. I think living here really helped a lot because people knew me and they're like, all right, we got to go support local. Let's go up. And we made it through that. So after that, it was like, what else can they throw at me that's not going to make this work? Because now we know we have a sustainable product, you know.
Yeah. And
I
that's
say,
and that's that whole goal thing, the goal thing, and you're working towards something greater, something bigger, something new. And people, I think I'm glad to hear about the teenagers now, but there is a group of people probably in their 20s right now that have, uh, part of it is I think that some of them they benefited from the success of their parents almost to almost to a fault. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
And so, like you said, you can't be looking at the last chapter of the life and not know that if you got to read from the beginning of the book, you know.
Right.
So, you got used to that kind of thing, and part of that's blame is falls squarely on the parents. You got to have to say, hey, yeah, it's kind of nice here at the house and all that stuff, but that's 40 years of work.
Right. Right.
You got to go do something. But I think that's part of it, and then being isolated for a good part of 5 years, 4 or 5 years, that you went from you couldn't go anywhere, can't do anything, don't touch anything, wear a mask, blah blah blah, take the shot, all that bullshit. And then when that was kind of coming out of that for a couple of years, then everybody was in this. I'm going to be. I'm either virtual or hybrid. And I can't be in the office. I can't go to the thing. You see, they got comfortable with being at home because they could, we could do stuff like this, and I'll go throw in a load of laundry. Maybe I'll sit down and watch Oprah, whatever. And that's not the normal work, deal. And so there was some lack of motivation on people's part. That it was comfort over achievement.
Right. And I mean, in everything that we do, when we're put in to do it almost every day, it's gonna move to a routine. And then when you take somebody out of their routine, they get like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, no, no. I like this couch. I like this home office. I like this. This is not I'm making my own lunch every day in the kitchen. I don't want to go back to packing a bag of lunch. So I mean, and going back to saying like with how the parents are with their kids with this younger generation, I completely agree. I mean, adversity builds character. You know, show me a good person that's had an easy life, right? It's pretty rare when everything's given to you. It's pretty rare that you're going to be like a good person, an all around good character,
It's hard to relate to other people
right?
because most people don't have it that way, so,
Right. And
you
I,
know.
I was funny. I was watching this thing. The other lady was talking about how like the hierarchy that you go throughout, your career and whatever, you like lose empathy almost. And I and I go, and it's funny because when I talk to Marty, my business partner, who's owned many businesses, he's failed at a couple, he's had to file bankruptcy, he's gone through it all. Very brilliant, very successful now, but he's gone through it. And he has a steel spine, you know. He'll just be like, fire him. Yep, nope, not good, fire him. And I'm like, ah, dude, like, back then I go, I can't do that because I had empathy for people. I grew an attachment to these people because I saw them every day. And Marty goes, oh yeah, you'll lose that. You'll lose that. That'll be gone. Give it 4 years. And he was right. I look at them and everything that I've gone through, all the things, and I go, you have arms and legs and a brain and eyes and just like me. Why can't you put the effort in that I do? My empathy for them it just kind of moved down a little bit, and it made me cynical kind of in a way. I mean, I still love them all. I still care. I'll do everything I can for them, but I don't understand their process now because I've been in a worse spot and I would just fight my way to get back to where I needed to be. And they just give up. They go, ah, now I'll just move on. Like you said, I'll just find another job. Whatever. And when she was so right, I go, oh my God, like she's speaking to me personally. I was like, my empathy is for my workers have gone down. And I go, this is just, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing yet, you know, but it's
Well,
just,
I think that some of that, I look back on, uh, like work, relationships, business relationships where people are, I thought we were really, we were on the same page, right? We did a lot of good stuff. And then you found out that when something tough went, and I don't mean personal, just operationally or went bad, the, their loyalty or connection to you was only to the extent that they personally gained from.
right.
And
Yeah.
that was really disappointing because I think generally this crew here likes people. So once I like you, I like you. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll even put up with your, personal foibles and all that kind of bullshit because, we like a little grace on that too, but the thing is that on the core stuff, if we're together, but I have been fooled many, many times by people who you thought, ah, man, we were really tight. We did, first sign of trouble or whatever, they're gone and you never hear from them.
Right. Oh,
Going
yeah.
back to what this lady was saying, I kind of agree with that. I kind of got to the point where there was a there was a comfort level of being a hard ass. Like I'm good to this point, and then when I get to this point, I don't give a shit. It's like
Right. Well,
and
and I juggle that all the time because in today's world, you have to handle these people with like feathered gloves. They take constructive criticism in a terrible way. You can say like, "Hey man, like I need you to do this just a little faster, and then they just like, I quit. Oh, I feel attacked. And you're like, whoa, no, hold on a second. I'm just trying to help you be better at your job. I want to pay you more money. Become more valuable to me. I always say with everyone I interview, I go, I will pay you what you're worth. Make yourself valuable. And man, does that start motoring them for about a month. And then they find the ways to be lazy and they find the ways to do this and they find ways to do that. And you're like, hey, let's go back to, week 2 here. Like, let's come back. And then they feel attacked by it. And it's like, I don't know how to handle it sometimes. You have to do this crazy dance where you got to be assertive, but you got to be soft with being assertive at the same time. It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult these days. And I don't know what it's like in Luke's world. When I mean, if you're a trainer, you know, if I have a good, if you're a good trainer, and I'm invested, I want you on me. Like, say, hey, pick that up. You know, what are you doing? Quit
We
being
still
lazy.
it's still the same, right? It's still the same dance, and that's where I go back to the behavioralist of like understanding. And it's not it's mastering people. I think that's the game, right? Like of understanding and having to do it with all those different things. You have to do it with, a harder hand at times, with empathy a lot of times. Like what, and that's how do you find the thing that makes somebody tick? And some of it's not going to work, but the ones that you can get where you find that thing that like clicks with them and then they're awesome. You're like, for every five of you that I got that, like, man, that's a success story as like an employee or a client or whatever. I was just talking to somebody last night. I was like, for every one of you, I have 1,000 that were told the same thing that just didn't work out for them. And it's too bad because I'm trying to help you get better and giving you the vision on the other end. You just couldn't buy into, most of the time, the consistent hard work with it all. And yeah, it's really interesting when you start talking about some of that stuff. I think a couple of podcasts ago, I was talking to my dad. I shared this. I came across this clip of a former Olympic wrestler. I think he's the coach of Northern Iowa, won like coach of the year, and he's like taping a lot of his speeches to his guys, his wrestlers. And he's like had this piece of paper, and he goes, there's this phrase of work smarter, not harder. And he goes, that's what we want. We want you guys to work smart. We do. He goes, but here's the deal. And I've used it so much since I heard it because it's the truth. And I think it goes along with what we're talking about. You cannot work smart until you first work hard,
For
because
sure.
you have to work hard to understand, like you were saying, on the growth, you're going to find all the mistakes, and the mistakes are that's the only way for you to speed the process up. Like I worked hard here. I worked hard here. I found out where I failed here. Okay. Not going to do that again. So now my timeline starts to shrink, but it only shrinks with the amount of hard work that you put in to establish the failures. So then you're like, okay, not going to do that. I'm going to readjust this and move forward. And people are just not willing to do that, and it's really interesting and it's tough. And I think even to my dad's point, when we were talking about you connect with people, you want, at the end of the day, again, I always talk about sports analogies. If we're on a team together, I just want to know that I don't have to look over at you and help you with your job. I just want to know that you're there, and I can trust that you're there. But it's a real issue if I need to come over and I need to help block your guy with you. Like,
Right.
just take care of that guy, and I'll take care of my guy, and let's take care of it together because we're going in the same direction, and we can just establish trust, and we can both win. That's great. But if I got to stop doing what I'm doing to come over here and help you out, this is going to be a problem for all of us. And it's just I don't know if, like I said, in that generation, I was just thinking about family backgrounds where you're talking. I mean, you're talking about washing dishes at your 9. Since you were 9, your mom has worked her butt off her entire life. And if you go to her restaurant now, who has her own, it's awesome. And I still, to this day, have people don't know that that's my aunt. And they're like, I was over at this restaurant and it's phenomenal and it's packed and it's all this stuff. And I'm like, but she's 50 plus years of honing that art, but you grew
Yeah.
up watching that grind. And it's the same thing we talk about my parents. Like you could take the snapshot of them now, or like dad says, like, it's 40 years of hard work. Well, I was privileged enough to be aware and old enough when it was not great, and watch the hard work and watched, putting all the pieces together and having to adjust things, and you do everything you can to make it work, which gives me much more appreciation. And I'll tell him this all the time. I'm so proud of seeing where they are right now, because I got to witness the journey and grow up along the way. But I think that establishes for us understanding what hard work is, right? Watching they don't feel good. The tough times do not feel good. There's nothing great about it until afterwards, when you go, I wouldn't change a thing,
Right.
because
Yeah.
there's no shortcut. Zero. Then you were talking about having 24 bucks in your pocket and you started I mean, it's so interesting, right? I came up, want to start my own gym, and I did it with $50,000 in college debt. Driving my college car, moving to a town I didn't know. And I remember looking back after, I was like, things have turned the positive corner. And I remember finding like my first, like, ACH draft from like memberships or whatever. And it was like, I think it was like $1,200, but my bills every month were 25,000. And I
Yeah.
remember being like, and that was like for everything, right? from rent to, equipment loans to all this stuff. And I was like, how did I pull that? You go, how did I pull that up? But you did it with grit. You're like, well, this is what I decided
Yeah.
to do. And we're
Yeah.
just
I can't, I guess I'm working every day because I can't afford to have an employee. Right.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
I was there every day. I was on the floor every day at my restaurant for 2 years. And it was like, this is just what I have to do to grind. And the problem is like, I think people are so afraid of failure and they think that it's just some huge, like, I don't know how to phrase it perfectly, but like it's such a like a drain on them or like a stain on their life. And it's like for me, I don't look at it that way at all. I'd rather that phrase that's like I'd rather aim high and miss than aim low and hit. Right? It's just like you see something immediately failing, like okay, I got this close. It's not impossible. Like what I thought was impossible one day is no longer impossible. It's like I've taken 7 steps closer to that to what I want, and now I just course correct and just go, "Okay, now I just go this way instead of this way because this way screwed me over." Right?
Right.
It's just
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
like, when we're talking about and, like, knowing people, and that's what I think us 3 are like, what we talked earlier, we're so good at that. Like, it's crazy. Like, and that's just I think, when all the business we've all been in, it's just reading people and knowing what they want and executing it's half the battle.
and you made a comment, Matt, about people who they see the end game, and then not all the all the bologna sandwiches leading up to that deal.
Yeah.
And I always think about it. Americans are really kind of interesting people because we love a winner. We love a winner.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
getting on. We're behind them. It's Tiger Woods or whoever it is. Doesn't matter, right? Love them, love them. And when they get to that level, then we resent their success. Then you
Yeah.
start seeing that thing, and it happens in every scale of human endeavor that I've seen in business, personal things, whatever. Ah, man, they really did. Yeah, they really made it happen, and things are really going good for them. It starts feeling
Yeah,
it's
somebody
almost
gave
in the
him
same
money
thing.
at the beginning to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Something diminish it somehow. But I think that the part about people working is you can't get around the fact that this is a long life. Okay. I don't think, and it can be way longer depending on how you approach it too.
for sure.
But people will, they're always looking to, it kind of goes back to what Luke was talking about. And we've all done CrossFit. You can't understand gaming the WOD until you've done the WOD on your own, you know? And
Right.
you go, why do they tell you to drop the bar? Us, you're doubling your effort for nothing. you know, those kind of things, but you wouldn't know it until you did it, right? Because we were always told, don't slam the bar on the ground, right? Don't throw the bar down, in every gym you've ever been in, you lift it up under control of it. Well, then these guys are saying, hey, man, you're not going to do 50 sets like that. No way are you going to do that. So then so other people want to come and go, well, I'm going to game the what, right? And they're just thinking about the easy way out versus the proper form to get to it and why it makes it a repetition. And all of this is all habit, right? But you have to learn things from failure. That's all there is to it. I mean, otherwise we would just been born perfect, right? We just go, oh, this is gonna be 70, 80 years of kick-ass success one after another, no problem. No, it just seems stupid, that people think that way. And let's just I gotta throw this out there because it's just good fun. When I watch things like the recent thing with, the Gnome Kings rallies and stuff, and you look at just look at those crowds, just look at who's in those crowds. And I mean, it doesn't mean if it was locally or across the nation and stuff. And again, it kind of goes to the thing about, whether you're left, right, center, doesn't really matter. But I'm more interested in people, and it goes to this work ethic thing. I'm more interested in people. What are you for? Not what you're against. What are you for? Tell me what you're for. I might be right with you on something,
Right.
but you can't tell me what you're for Ever? You're not ever for anything. Okay. So you don't have a solution. And that's true in work and life too. You know, people go, wow, this is really sucks. Well, how would you like to do it? What's your suggestion about doing that? How could we improve that? You know, whether it's work or whatever. Well, I don't know. So you don't have a better idea, but
Right.
you don't want to do
You just hate their idea. You
yeah,
don't have your
I
own, but you
yeah,
hate theirs for some reason. You hate
yeah, and
theirs.
yeah, and so there's something there that affects their ability to be successful because uh, a person might go, you know, man, you know, we're doing this thing at the restaurant, and I just would keep looking at this thing, it keeps frustrating me, and I think if we did just this, it would cut out X amount of time or whatever, right? Doing this thing, and you'd be going, let's give it a try, right? Hey,
100%.
I appreciate you thinking in that way. You know what I mean? And you might even give somebody a chance at something that you think may not work, you know, but you wanted to encourage that thought process, right? You know,
Yes. I never not listen to an idea. I don't care what it is. Like I might walk away and go, fuck, was that the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life? But I'm always like, all right, let's give it a shot. And I'll let them try it. And I'll try it with them. And a lot of the times it doesn't pan out, but you don't ever take that creativity away from 'em. You never take that steam away from them because the next idea could be great.
Mhm.
right,
It could be an awesome one. And if you tell them that it's a stupid idea for their first one, that may have been stupid, they're not going to approach you with the next one because they think that you don't care. And it's like, no, there's no really dumb ideas or dumb conversation. Just give it to me and we'll break it down. And maybe we take a piece of it and we go, okay, yeah, this works, but let's bring this in.
right.
And now we have a solution.
Yeah. Well, how many, listen, we've all done things, implemented things, and you go, uh, and they sound great and all that, but they take a lot of modification before they get to, you know, if it's shit, it's you're gonna have to just scrap it and move to something else. But generally, it's an evolution of an idea, right? And it gets better and better and better, you know, over time. Now, at this end of the scale, you're going, uh, we got a new place to apply that process. All that learning has been done. You just put it, you're so far ahead of the game, right, on this new one, because you're starting that process. It's just interesting that uh, one of the things that I had seen in the last couple of years that was kind of interesting with people who are really pretty educated, you know, and should be really, really good at what they do. But they've fallen into this pattern. It's almost mind boggling to think about it. Is they will do what you say to do, but you have to tell them. Not that
Yeah.
not that they retained information. You know, they came to you before and said, "Hey, yeah, you know, in this situation, not that this is the only solution. Here's a track to run on for that." And you may find things that'll tweak it, make it better, make it your own, fine. But this is the way you should do it versus just kind of guessing at it, right? And and then the next time the very same situation comes up, they're going, "Well, how do I do it?" The same way I told you last time.
Oh yeah.
But these are people who should retain some knowledge. And you're going, "Wow!"
Right.
And so there was something about in the last 10 years or so of people like I I just do what I'm told. I'm
Oh,
going, wow.
yeah. We don't
I
push
grew up
back,
I grew up
you
in
know.
a environment was we didn't like doing what we were told. I don't
No.
even care if it was right. I don't like being told what to do, you know? And for people to just sit there as adults and go, uh, they're frozen unless somebody's giving them direction.
Yeah.
That's weird
We
to me.
talk about a group of peers like as entrepreneurs, right? And or even successful, business managers or whatever. Your best people hate being told what to do. And it's the truth because you're like, no, I'm gonna start my own thing because I don't want you to. I'm gonna do it better. Great, like at least you're gonna take a shot at it. And so there's something in that willingness and the guts and the balls to be like, take a shot at it, and Dad, you said this thing about like, this life can be really long. And I was thinking about that in kind of in reverse. We're guaranteed nothing, and neither is the longevity of your life. So why the hell would you wait to go get whatever it is you want to, whether that is just working at the restaurant and I'm gonna start as a dishwasher and work my way up, or I'm doing it while I'm going to college or do whatever. That's the part that probably in my spirit drives me the craziest. I'm like, what are you waiting for? You're waiting to start this business in 20 years from now. It's not gonna get any better. Actually, more things are gonna get in your way along the way. They're probably gonna make it even more complicated for you to even consider doing it then. Or I'm gonna go get this college degree when I have all of this saved up and I'm in the right. Not gonna work. You gotta like, it's actually gonna get worse then. So it's like the waiting for time, or I have all this time. Like, no, you don't. I mean, you have time to take a shot now and then figure it out. But like waiting for the most opportune time to find the best job or the best business or the best model or whatever, that part drives me crazy because I'm like, like do it, and
Yeah.
then like just give it some effort. And again, if that's even bringing an idea to a boss or whatever, I'll just wait till the right. No, and every great. If you're a part of something else, if you're a part of a business where you have a boss or you have a like your Matt was saying, they are going to be so excited because again, for every one of you that actually has an idea or the willingness to say something, there's 100 other that aren't going to do anything. So take the one person that has some resemblance of action right now every day.
Yeah. I mean, when I grew up, I mean, you guys knew how my upbringing was. Like, my mom worked 3 jobs before she had the restaurant. She did all these things. Me and my brother were basically feral children. It was just like the street lights turn on, get inside the house, the neighbors are gonna be watching, get in there, right? N I have I mean, my head is scarred to the bejesus belt because all the stupid things I was doing that I wasn't supposed to be doing. I was taking risks at, a young age, and I'm like, "Yeah, I can jump off that." 'Cause I had no one to tell me not to do it, basically. So I we would just me and, Greg would trick me into doing stupid shit, and, "Yeah, you can that's only like 30 feet, jump off it, you idiot. The water won't hurt you." I'm like 6 years old jumping off a train bridge, but it was again, those kind of things were just like, "Yeah, I did it once," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, I can do it." And we had, like, all those people were scared to do it. We were just like, we fed ourselves back then. We made ourselves our bologna sandwiches, for dinner or whatever it was. And that's just kind of like how we grew up. And that's why I think it's made me fearless in a lot of ways. And like what you guys said, when, life is never guaranteed and longevity is never guaranteed. And I try to tell these young staff that I have, it's like, if you want to do something, you just got to do it. But they always think that there's this book of life that was created, that it's like, you go to high school, you go to college, you get your job, you get married, you have 4 kids, you grow old, and then you die. Like, this is what they are told. And for me, I was like, it doesn't have to be that way. I found success on the opposite side of that, where it was like, I never went to college. I didn't do all these things. I took risks. I worked my way. I learned by being in it. But that again was like another thing. They just see this piece of paper and they're like, this is now success. This will create the future for me. And it's like they're okay with being, you know, I don't want to say mediocre or whatever, just being somebody's worker where I just told my girl it doesn't have to be the way.
Uh-huh.
But you have to like find something you're passionate about, jump fearless into the darkness and hope you come out of it. I mean, and just, run as fast as you can till the light hits. But they are told, I can't do that. They're literally, I have one employee, she was 18 years old, she's in high school, and she's like, I really want to be a real estate agent. I love it. I love everything about it. And I said, okay. I'm like, I have 2 friends that own real estate companies. I'm like, you want to be an intern? I'll get you there this summer. Her name is Deanna Bennett. She sells all the $1 million homes in the area. a genius at what she does. She's so smart. And I go, I'll put you in with her. You can start really, might probably have to do paperwork, start there. She goes, I'd like to, but I think I need to go to college. And I go, no, you don't. I just said, you can take a year and just see if you like this. You're 19 when you start. Who cares when you go to college? Who cares? Or you find out you love this. And she is an anomaly. She's an amazing work ethic. She's amazing. Super smart girl. And then, yeah, she went to college and she lost that passion. It was gone. We actually were talking about it last night. I saw her and I was like, yeah, I'm like, do you still want to do that? She goes, oh, yeah. She goes, yeah, I do. But I just got 2 more years of college and all this stuff. And I said, you know, okay. Because she was told her entire life, this is how you do it. And I think I think that's amplified fear in kids saying, if you don't go to college, you're not going to be successful. The reality is, I think the people that don't go to college that are forced to be like, I'm going to be successful this way because I don't have a bachelor's degree. I can't go into some corporate job and start at an 80K position. I'm going to have to start from the bottom up. And people don't want to do that anymore. They absolutely don't. I mean, I looked at it when I worked at the Duluth Athletic Club. I don't know, Luke, if you remember that bar restaurant.
Mhm.
And I started there when I was 18 and they put me on as a host and I go, I'll be a bartender in a year and a half. That's what I told my boss. I go, I'll be a bartender in a year and a half. It took me 2 years, say to be 21 or whatever. But I told him like week one, I'm like, this is what I want to do. And he goes, all right, show me. So I worked my ass off. I was, you know, wiping menus religiously, like, yucking it up as best I can. I made them really like me and I made myself valuable. And I was just like, that is just something that I think is lost a little bit today because they've just been told this is what you do. This is how you do it. This is how you become successful. My idea of success is not their idea of success.
Right.
Me sitting in a corporate world is I'd shoot myself. I have to be around people. I have to be moving. I have to be like in the community. I have to be doing things. I couldn't do that life. So for me, it never made sense to me. And I was told, most of my life, when are you going to get a real job? You're a bartender. When are you going to get a real job? And it's like, man, it's like I've talked about this on a previous podcast. I've lost really good people who could have been really, really good in this industry. They had a passion for it. They were so good at it. And they would help me create things within my own restaurant, like even what I did for my mom. And they were told by their parents, you need to get a real job. They were making 80 grand a year, all the freedom in the world. They were traveling, they were doing whatever, and they were happy. And now they're just, you know, sitting at a corporate job, and one of them's emptying bedpans, and she's miserable. And she's just like, "This is my life." She's like, "I miss this." And I'm like, I go, "Oh, welcome it back with open arms." But there's a stain on this industry that it's not you're not in a professional setting, and it sucks. And I feel bad for them, and I understand it because that's where society has led them, which is a bummer.
Yeah. Well, that high school, supposed college, 18 to 22, if it's not for you, you're messing up 4 years of experience at something. You're just
Right.
wasting it. You're just wasting it. It's just, I don't know. There's I forget who's the guy. He does a lot of motivational books and stuff, business books. Malcolm.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah. And so one of the things he was talking to this lady who was, she'd gone through a divorce. She had a couple of kids. She's working, but she always wanted to be an attorney. Okay. And she goes, but I got to do, with what's going on, I got to have to work and I have to do school at nighttime. I got 2 kids, all this stuff. And his answer to her was, do you anticipate being alive in 4 years? And she said, yeah. He goes, well, do you want to be alive with or without a law degree? So it's a great answer,
Yeah. Right.
It's your
Yeah.
call. You're going to be
Right.
you're not necessarily going to be any worse or better situation, but for maybe that, if you want to do that. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I think people would be better off being more, uh, in also in the trades. Everything is, man, I grew up in a rural area where, it was ranching, farming, just, all that stuff. And there was a lot of respect for people who worked with their hands and stuff, but then it was always like they put the college thing up on a pedestal and stuff. And it's a scam. It's a total scam. I mean, all you're doing is loading up
I
a bunch of
agree.
debt. You're loading up a bunch of debt to go, and get this job. And it takes you probably 5 to 10 years to get rid of your college debt, and
Yeah.
I
I
think
say
this,
that with, having, and we were never like, you have to go do this. It was just, okay, well, that was next, as far as like, that's what I'll just go do this next. Looking back on it with 4 kids, I'm like, you can choose, and again, spending my entire adult life creating our own businesses and learning. I was like, the reality was I needed the first 2 years to potentially grow up, right? And did all the shenanigans you possibly could imagine, but amassed a massive amount of debt. I mean, getting good grade, but doing nothing, right? You're just basically growing up. And then the back half was the 2 years that like of things that I did learn from like a business degree that I did apply right away from like writing a business plan or marketing or finance, like all that stuff. But at the end of it, Matt, you said your master's degree. I mean, look at it now with this amount of time, we've got our PhD in, all these things from all the failures that I've had and all that stuff too. It all became, outside of some of that stuff that was, yeah, helpful out of the gate, it all became from hands-on experience and asking questions and surrounding yourself with the right people. And now I'm like having kids. I'm like, you come tell me if you have you want to be a doctor or you want to go be a pilot or you want, like, there's a thing that, yes, we need this amount of education for that one thing that you want to do. I understand.
Yeah, STEM, of
But if
course.
there's other things that you want to do, if you want to own your own business, like and you come to tell me that at 18, well, let's put a path together right now because it doesn't have to be that piece of paper. But I think there needs to be more of that out there for people to understand that, and there's going to be so much more opportunity. You see all the statistics now, more and more people. This is that dichotomy with people right now, right? I think more and more people know that there's opportunity to do something for themselves with all of the platforms and things like this. Like there is opportunities to do it. It does require hard work. But I think we were talking about people leaving, and I think it's also been screwed up by social media, right? Everybody posting whatever. It is all BS. Whatever car they have, whatever clothes they have, whatever travel that they're doing, blah, blah, blah. So how am I going to have all those things that I see and I'm making minimum wage washing dishes? Well, like, so then it's like there's no correlation between the end goal and this job I have right now to understand that you're going to need to do that. I think it's messing with the younger generation a little bit of like, well, I can't go buy that car and I'm making $18 an hour plus tips at this thing. How am I supposed to get a whatever car you want to have? But I think that's also messed with the generation a little bit too.
Well, yeah, we all want it now.
Yeah,
Now, 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 now. That's how we want it. And it's like, what I think is going to be really curious happening over the next 5 to 10 years is AI. Like some of these college degrees just are going to be useless at some point. Like, I was watching a podcast, the Patrick Bet David podcast, and he had a guy on he's been a financial advisor for all these years, and he goes, he just created an app. He was like, basically, it makes financial advisor irrelevant.
obsolete.
He goes, yeah. He's like, you can put in all your data, and this thing in 30 seconds will tell you exactly what you need to do, what you should be investing in, your habits, and it's not taking 10%. It's free. And it's like with all this technology out there, what trades I think is going to skyrocket.
I think so too. And besides that, I mean, I said this right now. I mean, I can't imagine what's the worth of some of that degree when you know that, and again, there's apps out there that can tell you that stuff that was generated like on ChatGPT. But if you were to ask what, like, the 20-year-old version of yourself to write this 20-page paper, and you know that you could go type it into this AI app and have your 20-page paper spit out, so then you could go party with your friends.
Yeah.
Like, so what is actually that even worth? Because how much of this, what learning are you actually doing? What, to even give, like, that baffles me now as we're going, into this age. Like, these kids can pump out, I remember you sitting in front of screens, you're just like counting words, trying to come up with the content that your teacher wanted to have. And you're just like, and now you just could, hey, I need this many pages on this subject and be done. And like, what did you actually even learn in the entire process? Which is really wild.
I watched a kid. It was this again, a reel that I saw. This kid had his phone next to his computer. He had it linked up, and the phone's listening to the lecture. The lecture's getting translated onto his computer from the phone, word to word, and he's just sleeping. So he'll just go read the lecture later. So it's just like, and if he wants to, right? Or he can just find the highlights. You can ask him and go, hey, what are the
Give me the
highlights of
bullet
this? And it'll
points.
break it. Yeah. And it'll break it down. It'll give it automatic cliff notes. I mean, it's just shocking that I think that this is going to sound, I don't know if this is going to sound good or bad. I don't know, but our technology has gotten so good that our society is just going to get dumber. I mean, there's no way, like, you retain information, I think, from reading. Like reading, you write it down, you read it. Like that's how I think is the best way to retain everything. And now it's like it's non-existent. It's gonna be like there are some things that I look at, I'm just like, how did you get there? Like, how did your brain get you there? Like, and there's that they call it TikTok brain or whatever. Their their attention span lasts like this.
10 seconds.
Like even when I talk to like a marketing team about like how we want to move forward with like, putting us on social media, like you got to grab them in 2 seconds. You have 2 seconds to grab their attention or it's over. And it's like, you're fucking kidding me. They're like, oh no, they won't watch it. If out of the gate, they don't find something interesting. It's like, fuck, like how do you get something to sink in, and for me, I love long podcasts. Like I really enjoy them. And they're an hour and a half. I have a lot of friends when I'll send them something, they go, no, an hour? You think I got that kind of time? Like,
Yeah.
fuck, I guess,
I
But they'll
think, well, I
but
say
they'll
something else.
scroll for an hour in bed.
Oh, they'll doom scroll at TikTok and they'll come out of their blackout 4 hours later
Yep.
and go,
Having
oh my
done
God.
nothing.
Yeah, having done nothing. And like I think we're all in fitness. We've all done our things. And that was the big excuse that I hated. I don't have time. I don't have time. It used to drive me crazy. I go, get up 45 minutes earlier. Just get up. You go do push-ups, sit-ups. You don't need a gym membership. Go for a walk. And even like talking about like phones, I hate to say it, like I walk by Lake Superior every day. It's the most beautiful scene in some, I would say like in the country. It's so gorgeous. And I'm just like, I take it so for granted. I'm like, sometimes I catch myself. I go, what am I doing here? Like this thing is like the sun shining and all this stuff. And I'm listening to two people argue on the Pierce Morgan. You know what I mean? Pierce Morgan censored. And I'm getting all fired up. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I gotta just take these out and just look around. But that's like the age of today. And it's, you know, what do you I mean, Matt, you've seen it, your whole life, the transition of us like going from no phones, like the rotaries and the shit, like how did you like fall into this? Like how did you just like accept like this is the world now? I
Well,
just
yeah,
gotta
well,
get on I gotta get on board.
yeah, you do. Well, here's the thing: it's not all bad, right? There's a lot of
Oh, right.
there's a lot of convenience that comes with that. Look, I do it sometimes. I get rid of apps. I think I should go fucking old school and get a flip phone, get rid of this thing, because all I really need is to be texted and called, right? But there's a lot of things that that are great, like GPS and maps and all that kind of thing.
Oh,
But yeah,
I can't imagine like
yeah,
that fucking
you
map that you had to like fold out and just find that road. And you have to highlight 2 days before. You're gonna get somewhere.
but here's one of the things that's lost in it, and I think it goes to what you were saying about reading. What they're missing now is you used to go down the rabbit hole by your own thought process, your own plinko game in your mind, going, oh, I did that. Oh, I see that. Well, they mentioned this book too. I better make a note of that. And so you kind of developed your own information base and how to get to things and stuff versus bang, there it is. Because now you have to worry, yeah, that was a quick answer, but is it the right answer? So that's the other thing now.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example in the legal field. The AI people, write legal drafts, and it's cool for some basic things, but you can't take a national approach to something that is venue specific to California or Minnesota or whatever, right? And somebody will put in there. They had this thing where a judge, somebody had actually submitted a brief that was written by AI, a young attorney, and just got his ass completely chewed off by the judge. Yeah, these are all relevant cases, but not to this case and not to this jurisdiction. And finally, the guy had to admit he didn't write it. He didn't write the He got
All right.
there's no
Yeah.
there's no shortcut. So yes, there's going to be a lot of jobs eliminated. I'll give you an example. Former company I worked for, I talked to some of my friends, former colleagues, and they're cutting about 4,000 jobs. Now that comes and goes. I saw it over my career and stuff, but 4,000 out of 30 in this particular area. But the reason is because you can call in. I can have I can have you prompted. I have you give all the information about whatever you need to give me. It's going to be AI generated notes. And then a person is going to review those notes and say, is that accurate? Does it need any follow up or not? If it's good, okay, it's filed and it moves on, right? Now, so the volume wise of that, for the odd mistakes it makes, it's worth not having paying 4,000 salaries plus benefits plus all that, right? And but you still
For
can't.
sure. Yeah.
But ultimately, you still can't eliminate. I'm not afraid of AI. People, AI is going to take over the world and have a nuclear holocaust and stuff like that. I'm not really worried about uh, the AI tech because ultimately, AI was developed by a human, and yes, it's self learning and all that. But there's always a place in there for the human being. There's no computer can move as fast as the human mind with experience.
Right.
It's experiential, So ultimately, it has some stop point where it's all been collected, it's all been categorized, it's all been notated, and somebody's got to look at it and go, "That doesn't look right," you know. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Can't
I
make a
don't
gut
really worry
decision.
about it too much. I think there's a lot of benefit to it, no doubt, and it is going to cut down on jobs for sure because there's a lot of jobs that are overpaid for what they produced, you know. So, it's going to be interesting time. The next 10 years, it's going to be big changes in the
I mean,
workplace.
I think we're living through arguably like the weirdest, but also the greatest time in human history, right? I mean, there is something going on every day. It's crazy.
Yeah,
And man, is it entertaining. Holy
yeah,
shit.
it's interesting. Boys, I'm gonna have to wrap up. Like, I gotta go. I'm holding out hope, right? Like, I think that, like I was talking about the younger generation, I'm just kind of watching. And I think for as much as there's like, we could joke around and leaning into the AI and like you could take, you could, overuse it, not to have effort. I also do think, especially coming out of the pandemic, because we were so remote, there was so much Zoom and there was such a lack of physical connection with people that's needed, that I do feel like, and the hope that I have is there's also this disconnect from technology. As much as we're going into it, I also, as you're talking to people, you feel like there is a little bit of like, yeah, all right, I'll use
But
that.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Or like, I'm getting off social media or I'm not on there as much. And it's interesting because I do see it a lot with the younger kids. Nah, and I think that there's something that happened in there with, again, that big disconnect of physical connection. Now there could be a huge reliance on technology. So I'm holding out hope is I do think that there is going to be some sort of pushback, a little bit of like, utilizing it as you needed to, but there's also this need. People need to be connected, and they need to be connected not virtually. They need to be connected not on their
yes.
phones or not whatever. It does need to be face to face, and there's an energy in there. And so I'm holding out hope because I do feel like there is a shift there, and I don't know what's going to come of it, but I feel like there will be something where people are going to they're almost, I feel, pulling away from this a little bit, and even like hopping on, I like podcasts in a long form and I'd like to watch them for this exact reason. I'm watching it for the physical interaction. I'm watching for your facial expressions. I'm looking for your tells. that I can't just listen to it if I'm driving. I can do it when I'm driving in a car, but I'm looking for the physical connection, even if I'm watching a podcast. So I think that's where I'm holding out hope that there's something in there that's wild. Like as all this stuff is speeding up and as it's coming in, all this, the thing that I think most people are missing is this actual human connection, conversation, like, connecting with people. And I'm interested to see what's going to happen from that. But Maddie, thanks for hopping on, man.
Well, yeah, dude, I want to book me again. I love
Let's
this stuff.
let's do it. We'll have to do part 2 for sure. If they're in northern Minnesota and they want to find you, let's get a couple shout outs. Restaurants are.
Yeah, we have 2. We have one in Hermantown, that's off Highway 53, right across from the Skyline building. And then we have one in Canal Park currently right now. So if you guys see this, stop on in. We got a great breakfast and a good lunch and some mimosas in there too. Mix them up.
It is really good stuff. And it's a social house, both of them, right?
Yes, the social house.
So yeah, it's fantastic. And you've done a great job. I'm proud of you. Dad, what do you want to tell the audience? Keep this thing growing.
Like, share, subscribe. We're gonna get a email together. I found the old one, but I couldn't get it active for some reason. We'll make up some pithy little names for it.
We'll just set one up.
Yeah, we are.
Not that hard. We just got to set it up.
It isn't hard. It's just it irritates me, so I keep looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Well, I love you both.
Send us the comment or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And hopefully I'll see you guys maybe Christmas sometime.
Yeah, let's get together face to face.
Let's figure something out. Yeah, let's get that human connection.
Right.
I miss you guys.
Miss you too, buddy. Love you. Thanks for being on, Dad. Love you. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Love you guys. Bye. Bye.